The day was May 4th, 2007. The National Weather Service had just issued a moderate risk for much of the Central Plains, meaning that there's a 15% chance of a major tornado coming within 25 miles of your house. This is a very rare occurrence, and people in the zone should be extremely cautious, and maybe even go to a safer area. To make matters worse, it was at night, meaning that there is little to no visibility of the tornado. Also, the Cape that day was over 5,500 joules per kilogram, 5 times what is needed for a thunderstorm. Cape is the amount of energy in the atmosphere for clouds and thunderstorms to build. About 1,000 Cape is where severe thunderstorms are created, but if there's high amounts of wind shear, the thunderstorm will rotate and create a dangerous thunderstorm called a supercell. A supercell is a thunderstorm, but it rotates as it goes up in the air. It is these types of thunderstorms that create tornadoes, damaging winds, and huge hail. On this day, the stars aligned just right, where there is high wind shear in Cape. This caused there to be a lot of supercell development, but one specific supercell stood out. At the time, it was about 25 miles southeast of Greensburg. The supercell produced its first tornado at twilight. It wasn't that significant, it didn't do damage at all. In fact, that was the case for the first several tornadoes the supercell produced. The said supercell was the main supercell that everyone was watching, as it had the most potential to produce a tornado, especially a strong one. It is normal for a supercell to produce tornadoes that are weak at first. Most supercells do this, but then they produce one main tornado, the ones that do the most damage by a long shot. This supercell was no different. It produced the first major tornado of the batch. The tornado was rapidly expanding. It expanded to over a mile wide. Worst of all, it was an EF5 tornado, the very first one. Before this moment, it had only been F5, but a meteorologist called Ted Fujita, a person who studied meteorology for over 30 years, came up with an idea. He decided that the threshold for being an F5 is way too high. A tornado had to have wind speeds up to 300 miles per hour, and other changes about the way they measure speed. Before the EF scale, they use radars and big trucks that have a tool that measures the wind speed of a tornado. Now, they look at the damage done by the tornado to estimate the wind speed. They have a list of different damage aspects and the severity of the damage based on what it is on the scale. The tornado had just entered Greensburg, ripping through buildings and tearing down homes. The tornado continued this pattern until it exited the city. However, this was not the end for Greensburg. The tornado, when it was outside the city, did a 180-degree turn, going in the direction of Greensburg again. It hit the same neighborhoods that were already damaged again. After the tornado went through the town for the second time, it dissipated, leaving a 22.8-mile track on Greensburg.
Hello, my name is Jones, and I'm here with Greg Newton from the National Weather Service. So where did you go to college?
I went to the University of Kansas and got a degree in atmospheric science.
How long have you been working for the National Weather Service?
I've been working for the National Weather Service for the last 33 years.
When did you get into weather?
It was the first job right out of school, out of KU, and went down to Wichita as the forecast office in Wichita.
Have you ever been in a tornado?
I've been under a tornado warning, and I've been close to a tornado, but I've never been in a situation where the tornado actually went by or damaged the building I was in.
So how do you track these tornadoes?
The National Weather Service usually tracks tornadoes with radar, Doppler radar, and we also use spotters, surprisingly. So we use the combination of weather spotters, providing us information, ground truth, and then we use the Doppler radars that are located at each forecast office.
So what's the most memorable tornado you've tracked?
The most memorable tornado that I've tracked personally was the Hayesville tornado, May 3rd, 1999. So we had thunderstorms producing tornadoes that were coming up out of Oklahoma and moving into Kansas. And as soon as we were getting ready to start issuing warnings, our radar went down. So then we had to start scrambling, figuring out how we're going to get our radar back up. So luckily, we swapped and started looking at a neighboring radar, Vance radar, and used the Vance radar to issue our warnings with. And got everything, all the warnings got out. I think we had lead times of like 14 minutes. And unfortunately, we had 11 people die on the southern half of Wichita in Hayesville because it went right through a mobile home park. So that was probably the most memorable tornado event.
So how do radars track the weather?
Radars send out a little pulse of energy that goes out, hits on a rain droplet, and reflects back to the radar. The radar dish is 24 feet in diameter, so it's a quite large dish. And as it comes back towards the radar, it gets processed by the radar, and then we can tell if that little rain droplet was moving away from the radar or towards the radar. And then it gets plotted up on a computer screen, and then we can determine where the storm is and if that storm is rain droplets are moving towards or away from the radar in order to track the rotation, the mesocyclone that is part of the tornado.
Well, thanks for joining me today, and thanks to you guys for watching.
Thank you.